Danse Kakyo. Hello, everyone. It's Love, and you're listening to the Indigenous Setlist. I'm not going to listen to the pressures that are projected onto me. I'm going to do what I want to do, but I still love you guys. Living under the patriarchy, it's in your face all the time. Indigenous people, we are the founders of music. Danse Kakyo. Hello, everyone. My name is Lavina Tatusis. My artist name is Love. I am from Treaty 6 territory, Pamika Cree Nation. I am Cree, and I make neo-soul R&B music. I used to make alternative rock music, which was fun. And I just grew up with music being, one of the bigger outlets in my life. It was always around me, whether that was my stepdad playing and singing, or my brother playing and singing, or my mom backup singing at traditional events like powwows, round dances, ceremonies. It was just always around me. I got a karaoke machine when I was 6 or 7 for Christmas. And I just could not put that thing down. I was just so infatuated with like the idea of being able to make music and have a melody come out of my instrument. And right from there, I just always loved it. It was always something that I held close to my heart. And I started songwriting around the time where I think I started to realize that life is a bit more complicated. I think there's an age when you're a child where you realize, okay, I have emotions, I have problems. And that was my outlet. That was my way of dealing with those things. So I just had journals and journals of books, just like songs after songs. Some would be like poems, some would be songs. And I started playing at 13. My brother plays, he does it still for fun, but I'm the only one that really made a lot of space for it in my life. I was very close with my stepdad when I was younger, and he listened to, like Eric Clapton and like George Jones, Johnny Cash. My mom listened to Bob Marley. From a young age, I had a large variety of things that I was pulled to. And I think it's cool because that's like my favorite thing about music, is that like you can just re-identify with things, and that you can just borrow from this and take from that and make your own thing sometimes. And genres just never stop blending. So I just had a lot of influences. Give yourself a break. You're looking hard. So I went tree planting, and tree planting is one of those things where you go out there and there's no influence other than the trees and the people. So you kind of mold into like what feels best when you're up there. And I had found some friends that were musical. And because I came from having such a diverse background of interests in different genres, I was able to relate to kind of whatever was there. And I felt like super inspired when I was out there because, like I said, there's no distraction. It's just you, the trees, and the people, and working and working and working. So that was when I decided, okay, well, when I finish this job, I am gonna commit to music. And I actually did a whole album with that band. I created, there was like 5 of us, and it was this whole era, and it didn't live very long, but it was enough for me to get like a hang of what it would feel like. And we did a whole album, we did a couple festivals, just some smaller like grassroots stuff. And then I realized that I was like, okay, I think I'm kind of getting a little bit buried in this hyper masculine, because rock can be a bit masculine sometimes. And when you're in like a 5-piece band, it's very loud. And I was like, I think I just need something more simple. And that's really what gravitated me towards neo soul R&B. Is like, I feel like I could have a bit of both worlds.
Showed up at my doorstep, and he told me not to give up yet. So I pray for this energy to get through to you.
The first time I had that moment was when I was tree planting, and I was working so hard, and I was like, if I can do this, I can do anything. So what is something I've always wanted to do? And I was like, I always wanted to have something of my own. And I never honored my creative side. Mind you, I've been a singer, musically inclined my whole life, and just never once gave myself just the space to see if I could do that. And yeah, I remember having that thought when I was planting, and I just stuck with it. And then I was like, okay, guys, let's start a band. Like, let's do this. You guys want to do this? I'm down. Let's do this. And we wrote the songs, we went busking. We went all the way to Victoria Island just so that I could prove to myself that I could sing with a band. And that was a moment for me where I was like, okay, I'm doing this, and I don't care how long it's going to take, how hard it is, I'm going to do it. And then after I left the band, I was kind of like, I'm so scrambled. Like, I just spent so much time building up this band and this unit in this genre. We have an album coming out, and it feels like everything's falling apart. And that was kind of when I had to have another talk with myself. And I'm like, look, it's not over. You just got to redirect and, continue to grow. And I think before I got a little bit noticed, I was like, what am I doing? When you have nothing that's tangible, and the people around you don't even really know what you're doing, because it's like, how do you explain that? You're like, I'm just waiting for placements in festivals. Like, I'm just waiting for like fans. You know what I mean? And it's just like, how did that work? So it did take a lot of patience getting here where I can feel confident.
I got your apology, wrapped in a bouquet of roses. You're so delicate and sweet. Hope you know I never chose this.
Like I said, there's not a lot of people back home that do this and do this at the scale that I'm doing it right now. There's this one quote, so I can't remember who said it, but they were like, you got to be delusional. So when I came home and I was like, hey, I'm going to become a singer. And like I said, I sacrificed so much. I actually moved back in with my mom and lived at home so that I could, one, reconnect with her and just kind of heal, because I knew that I needed to let go of some things that were not letting me grow. And during that time, I think she saw how much I was working. I was driving to the city every day to practice with the band. I was applying for grants. I was writing songs nonstop. Like, I was just so committed to it, even though I had no one telling me to do it. It was just all, this little fire within that I had. And I think she saw that from afar. And I have a couple conversations with her every now and then where I'll just call her and fill her in on what's going on. And she'll be like, wow, like you can hear the excitement growing, because she's like, wow, like, okay, you really did this. And it's really beautiful. I made that decision to go tree planting because I didn't know what my purpose was. And I had a lot of, just trauma and unresolved things that I hadn't processed in my life. And I went tree planting, and I wasn't allowed to hold that in anymore, because it's such a physically demanding job that everything is hurting. So the things on your mind that come out when you're hurting, you just got to deal with them. And it was so healing for me, because I spent so much time just thinking about the root of things. And I went home and I was just like, I'm not going to carry this anger in my heart anymore. I'm not going to choose to live my life with fear and with anger. I'm going to forgive and I'm going to move forward and I'm going to be happy because not everybody gets the chance to reconnect with their family. You know, sometimes people pass on a lot earlier than we assume. And that was kind of the case that the conversation I had with myself was like, okay, like you have a chance right now, one, to do music. You also have a chance right now, one, like two, to go love your family. And I sing about that in my, Mama. It's like, go home and love your family, but don't listen to, like, basically just kind of saying, I'm not going to listen to the pressures that are projected onto me. I'm going to do what I want to do. But I still love you guys. When I was like 14, 15, me and my mom, we had moved in with my late kukum, my grandma, and she passed away from a brain tumor, she had cancer. And there's this idea of like femininity and just like this very sacred version of like nurturing and like what motherhood and grandmotherhood is. And I always think of her. And for me, it was seeing those, because to me, like my kukum was just so precious. And it was about seeing those traits in my mom. And it was about looking, not just my mom, but my sisters and my kin, my friends, the sisterhood. And I started to see that your perspective on things really allows you to advance yourself. And that's why I wanted to devote the album to my kukum. That's why I wanted to write the album, because I was like, women don't support women enough. Like, we need to be louder with this, And it was really cool because I'm big on like decentering men. Not that I don't love men, and it's not that I'm a man hater. I just think, living under the patriarchy, like it's in your face all the time. And I wanted to create this community of people who are like, you know what? Yeah, like that's my friend. I support her. Like, it's expression on a different level for me.
MATRIARCH MATRIARCH
She passed away, I think, in 2011. So I was really close with her up until like my teens, and then I had gone through my whole like young woman years without her, and that's what was really hard, I think, was like when you lose your matriarch too soon, it's really hard for the family to stay connected. And that's exactly what happened with my family is, people stopped coming to the reserve for Mother's Day dinner. You stop, it's just unfortunately what happens. And I saw that and I was like, I don't want this to happen like with my family. And this is premature. Like, my mom is still here. Like, there'd be no reason why I'm not over there and able to forgive and to be a family. Because that's one of the biggest blessings in this world, is to have a family. And yeah, I think at the end of the day too, it's just everybody taking accountability on what that looks like, whether that's supporting your sister, and, supporting your daughter, supporting your wife, like, and also sister, daughter, wife, taking up that responsibility to support themselves and to say, hey, you know what? No, I'm going to put myself first. I think it's a conversation that we should all be having more. And that's really what my music is about, is like, we can be matriarchal, and that doesn't necessarily mean that women are above men. Like, in that regard, it just means that we're making space for everybody, because when women lead, we include everybody. That's just naturally how we are designed. I create and I express from a place of authenticity, and I don't have to think about what that is, because I am what I am. And When I think we all kind of operate from that level, that's when we truly get into things that are different and original. And I'm big on doing things that come from me because I just think like that's the best way to do things in life. You know what I mean? Like if we're truly going to make space for different kinds of people to have voices and platforms, and like those people got to be authentic. Otherwise, if they are just doing what's already done, then what's the difference? And I think Indigenous people, we are the founders of music. And we all know that through history is our drumming and our chanting, our singing, they've molded over time into this really cool sound of rock and roll. And taking from that confidence and taking from that ancestral kind of creativity, it's beautiful. And I think for me, it's not about like shoving it down people's faces, like throats, and being like, we're still here. Like, I'm still here, because that's not my job. My job is to just be myself. And I think it's up to people to educate themselves on what that looks like for Indigenous people like me. But at the end of the day, like I love music and I love all kinds of music. So I'm not going to close myself down to just making sure my music is like always balanced with this traditional flow and then whatever's trending. So it's good to be mindful about it when you're creating, just so that that your music is hitting in terms of where people are at. It mostly just comes from a place of authenticity for me.
Sweetheart of my solitude, baby, got me low-key feeling you. Try to win me over, I got attitude. Asking all the questions, don't have answers to, like, can
I really developed a different kind of writing style after the band. That was all like divinely guided. After Tree Planting, I was really coming out of this whole like, okay, let's deal with some things. So the whole first album that I did with the band that I used to be with was very much those raw, heavy reality, like this is what it feels like type of music, where I was talking about mental health and I was talking about some really heavy topics in that album. And I think I got that out of my system, where I realized over time that it's a bit, it can be a bit self-centered to make your music all about your experience. And I was asking myself these types of questions, like, what do I really want to lead with? If I'm going with this whole, like, my name is Love, I'm singing R&B soul, like, I feel really good about life because I just dealt with a bunch of stuff. Like, what do I need right now? And I was like, you know what? I need affirmations. I need to remember, like, how good this feels. I need to uplift myself and keep uplifting myself. And I want to do that for others that are similar in what they're going through, where they're like, okay, I just need something to like remind me. And I think Mama was probably, out of all the ones that I wrote, Mama was like the song that really pulled me more into that identity of just like owning, okay, I'm here and I made it. Like, let's get to work.
Mama, get to work. Mama, get to work now. Mama, get to work. Mama, get to work now.
A lot of Indigenous people might struggle with this as well, or maybe just women in general, but it's really hard to like get out of that loop of being like in survival and then just accepting like, you know what, I made it, I'm here. Like, let's breathe, like, let's enjoy life, because it's so subconscious. You get trapped into this like mindset of being not really victimized, but it's hard to see the positives in life when you're faced with so many negatives all the time. So for me, Mama was like that song where I was like, I'm going to write something that's like, we're still going to showcase the grit that you need to have, like the work ethic that you need to have, but it's going to come from a place of love. And it's going to come not from a place of fear that you're not doing enough, or not from a place of like, revenge or anything like that. So that song was probably, out of all the ones, like the one I like to write the most in terms of having emotion, as well as Generations of Strength, GOS.
'Cause this one is for my girlies going through a hard time. the lessons you've been blessed with. Your troubles will melt away. Oh, you had generations astray.
Yeah, so my manager and I decided to do the waterfall method. So we kind of just dropped, song. And we're doing the full album release. And then I'm going to have a couple shows. I got some festivals. I'm in Pichena, BC. It's like on the island in July. And then I did this one song last year. I made it for a fashion designer. She's from the West Coast. And she asked me to make her a song and perform it while her models walk. And it's called Interconnected. And I'm probably going to release that after the album. It's just kind of been like people know about it, but it's not released yet. So I'm excited for that to come out.
All together, you and me, we're flowing with the energy.
And then just having the exciting conversations and doing some shopping around with producers and just seeing wherever the wind takes me. So I'm really excited because I do this because I like to write and I like to sing and I like to create. And I haven't been doing that because I've been working and performing. So I'm excited to get back into it. I think it was honestly very eye-opening to me to see how not easy, because it's not easy, but we live in a world now where you don't need to be in this top-notch freaking high-tech studio. Like me and Connor Siddell, the producer I worked with, I literally just went to Montreal. We're chilling in his house. He has a nice little home studio. We wrote Mama in a day. We wrote Relate in a day.
Can you relate to me? Can you relate to me?
And I always had this idea that I was okay, if I'm going to be taking myself seriously and being on the radio, I got to go to the best studios. And when it comes down to it, you just have to have a good vibe with your producer. You got to be around people who know what they're doing. And you also have to vibe with what they propose. Unless you're producing yourself, then you can literally do it from home. And that's one of my biggest messages too, is I want to do what I can do now so that if there's anybody who feels comfortable asking me, because maybe we look the same or we come from the same place, and they're how did you do that? Oh my God, blah, blah, blah. I could be dude, just pick up a guitar. Just go on Ultimate Guitar, learn a couple tabs, practice melody. It's very simple. You don't need to go to this fancy art school. I mean, you can, it's an option, but self-study and self, developing yourself is so important. And that's one of my biggest messages, because there's not a lot of people in my community that make it out of that mindset that everything is outside of us. It's all of this stuff that I'm doing now, I had it the whole time. It's just now I'm really applying myself. And I feel the harder you try, the more you push it away. And when I really just relaxed into it, things just fell into place. So.